of over 110,000 Japanese Americans from their homes on the West Coast. More than 2/3 were American-born U.S. citizens. Over 10,000 men, women, and children spent several years of their lives here at this camp. They brought with them only what they could carry from their homes. I wanted to understand how this happened to Uncle John, and I wanted to learn what protects us from this happening again. Experts have tried to explain why this took place.
Well, after the attack on Pearl Harbor, which had been a sneak attack, don't let anybody tell you that there wasn't a lot of fear on the West Coast at that time, because they had barrage balloons up in San Francisco. A Japanese sub was sighted off Santa Barbara. And so there was real fear that the Japanese had also attacked the West Coast. But the urging for the detention of the Japanese came from the civilians, saying, we don't have time to find out whether any of these people individually are disloyal. We've got to simply intern all of them.
And by 1944, one of the most interesting parts of this is it was also apparent that there had never been a basis for holding these people. Never. And at the time, the man in charge, General DeWitt, knew there was no basis. He had been told that by J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover told him the FBI doesn't want these people moved. We know who the spies are, and they aren't it.
The Due Process Clause of the Fifth Amendment is supposed to balance the power of the government against the rights of its citizens. Due process did not protect the Japanese Americans during the internment. Substantive due process requires that the government live up to a high standard if it tries to take away fundamental rights like life, liberty, or property. Procedural due process means that the government can't take away your rights without an adequate notice and a hearing before a neutral judge. The government took people to court who resisted the internment. Those trials, though, did not provide procedural due process because the government didn't present its evidence fairly. One example is a citizen named Fred Korematsu, who is about my uncle's age when he was arrested for refusing the internment orders. Mr. Korematsu argued that it was illegal to imprison him in the camps.
In 1942, Fred Korematsu boldly opposed the forced internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. After being convicted for failing to report for relocation, Mr. Korematsu took his case all the way to the Supreme Court.